Welcome to the most beautiful villages in France. Stretching from sunny Provence to vibrant Alsace and the coastal landscapes of Normandy, these villages were formed during the Middle Ages and continue to develop through the Renaissance. Many of them are over 800 to 1,000 years, yet they have preserved their original structure almost entirely. Their identity is immediately recognizable through traditional architecture, timber-framed houses, thick stone walls, and narrow cobblestone streets. Interwoven among them are fortified castles and vineyards, where culture, belief, and daily life exist within a single, unified space. And the first stop reveals a stone village, where light brings out each layer of ancient architecture in a truly distinctive way. Gordes. Located in the Luberon region in southern France, Gordes was built during the Roman era and flourished throughout the Middle Ages. Its elevated position allows the village to overlook the entire valley below, creating its distinctive terrace structure. The visual impact comes from houses made of light-colored limestone, reflecting sunlight into warm golden tones that shift throughout the day. From a distance, the entire village appears to blend into the cliffside, with homes stacked along the natural slope. At the highest point, Château de Gordes, first recorded in 1031 and rebuilt in the 16th century, stands not only as an architectural highlight, but also as the best vantage point over the entire area. From the square in front, visitors can take in the full view of the Luberon Valley, especially strutting in the late afternoon. About 5 kilometers from the center, the Abbey of Calanques opens into a completely different setting, where Romanesque architecture sits among lavender fields in full bloom during June and July. This combination is not decorative, but reflects how life here has always been directly connected to agriculture and religion. The local rhythm is most visible in the weekly markets, where olive oil, dried herbs, and Luberon wines appear as a natural part of everyday life, existing long before the village became a well-known destination. Leaving behind the sunlit stone landscapes of Provence, the journey moves toward a sacred cliff, where an ancient monastery rises directly from the gray rock. Rocamadour. In the Alzou Valley, Rocamadour clings directly to a limestone cliff over 150 meters high, creating one of the most iconic hanging structures in Europe. Formed in the 12th century, it quickly became an important pilgrimage site, where the steep terrain served both defensive purposes and strong religious significance. The space develops vertically, but remains tightly connected to the natural cliff. From the lower area near the Alzou River, with its small square and daily life, the path gradually leads up to a cluster of ancient chapels, the spiritual center housing the Black Madonna, tied to centuries of pilgrimage tradition. The Grand Escalier, with 216 stone steps, becomes the main route, requiring visitors to walk and experience the changing space at each level. At the highest point, the castle of Rocamadour stands apart from the rest, opening a full view over the valley while clearly reflecting its past role in control and defense. During festivals dedicated to the Virgin Mary, the entire village shifts rhythm as processions, rituals, and streams of pilgrims move continuously along the stone steps, creating a space that feels both sacred and alive. Leaving the dramatic cliffside behind, the journey moves toward a powerful fortress, where massive double walls rise against the open sky. Carcassonne. Located near the route connecting the Atlantic Ocean and the Mediterranean Sea, Carcassonne originated in the Roman era before being heavily reinforced in the 13th century as a strategic control point. And the entire citadel, with its double walls stretching about 3 kilometers and more than 50 watchtowers, remains almost completely preserved, making it one of the most complete defensive complexes in Europe and a UNESCO World Heritage Site since 1997. Passing through the Narbonne Gate, the interior opens into cobblestone streets, tightly packed houses, and walls on both sides, creating a strong sense of separation from the outside world. The double walls not only enhanced defense, but also formed unique passageways between architectural layers. At the center stands Chateau Comtel, built in the 12th century, serving as the core of the entire defensive system. From the walkways along the walls, the view expands across the surrounding plains, clearly showing its strategic role in controlling key trade routes of the region. In July, the Festival de Carcassonne brings open-air performances, while local cuisine is highlighted by cassoulet, a traditional stew deeply tied to the Occitania region. If you had to choose, would you explore history along the fortress walls or enjoy cassoulet right inside the citadel? After the solid stone walls, the journey heads toward the ocean, where an architectural wonder rises with the shifting tides. Mont-Saint-Michel. Off the coast of Normandy, Mont-Saint-Michel was formed in the 8th century when Bishop Aubert built the first church on a granite rock rising 92 meters high. Over more than 1,200 years, it developed into a fortified monastic complex while also serving as a key defensive site during the Middle Ages. Its most distinctive feature is the tide, with a range of up to 14 meters. Visitors often choose low tide to walk across the exposed path through the vast sandy flats. When the water rises again, the entire structure appears to float on the sea, creating a rare transformation within just a few hours. The structure develops vertically like layered stone. At the base is the village, followed by the defensive walls, and at the top stands the Gothic Abbey from the 13th century. The spire reaches about 157 meters above sea level, crowned by a 4-meter gilded statue of the Archangel Saint Michael, installed in 1897, serving as both a visual focal point and a symbol of protection. Local cuisine is known for its fluffy omelette at the historic restaurant La Mer Poulard, along with fresh seafood from the bay. During major religious events such as the Feast of St. Michael, the space becomes vibrant with pilgrimages, continuing traditions that have lasted for centuries. Leaving behind the ocean winds, the journey narrows into a mountain passage where a golden star seems to hang between two limestone cliffs. Moustiers-Sainte-Marie. Nestled at the entrance of the Verdon Gorge in Provence, Moustiers-Sainte-Marie developed from the 5th century around a narrow limestone canyon where two cliffs over 200 meters high nearly close into a tight passage. This setting not only shapes the village along the terrain, but also connects directly to one of the deepest gorges in Europe. The most recognizable feature is a metal star suspended between the two cliffs, hanging dozens of meters above the ground, tied to a medieval legend. Below it, the village stretches along a small stream with light-colored stone houses, low-tiled roofs, and narrow paths climbing upward along the natural slope, creating a sense of constant movement as you walk. The main experience begins in the village center, following a stone staircase up to the Notre-Dame de Beauvoir chapelle. Around 260 steps form not just a route, but a vertical journey where the village gradually shrinks from view while opening toward the Verdun landscape, especially striking in the morning light, hitting the cliffs directly. The cultural identity is closely tied to faience pottery, developed from the 17th century. Workshops still operate within the village, where visitors can watch the crafting process and choose pieces that reflect the character of Provence. Crossing the Pale Valley, the journey moves into a vibrant maze of colorful timber houses arranged in concentric circles. Eguisheim. In the Alsace region, Eguisheim is instantly recognizable from above, thanks to its rare concentric circular layout. Dating back to the 8th century, the entire village is organized around a central core, forming a closed structure rather than expanding along typical road axes. The streets curve in circular patterns, lined with colorful timber-framed houses and flower-covered balconies that change with the seasons. As you move, the perspective constantly shifts with each bend, creating a seamless sense of exploration without the need for clear direction. At the center lies Place du Château, with the St. Leon Fountain, associated with Pope Leo IX, born in 1002, serving as both a landmark and the point connecting the entire street network. Above the village, the three castles of Eguisheim, Dagsborg, Wallenberg, and Weckmund sit along the slopes of the Vosges Mountains. Built from the 11th century, they were designed to control the surrounding area, showing a direct link between the settlement below and the defensive system above. At the end of August, the Vignerons Festival takes place, when wine cellars open for visitors to taste Alsace wines along with local specialties, turning the entire village into a cultural experience deeply tied to its winemaking tradition. As the winding paths come to an end, the journey leads to a small stream beneath a castle, the starting point of endless vineyards. Kaysersberg. In the Alsace region, near Colmar and along the Rice River Valley, Kaysersberg stands out through a clear visual axis: a stone bridge crossing the river, rows of timber-framed houses reflected in the water, and Compsel ruins rising above. This low mid-high composition creates a complete frame at first sight, becoming the village's most recognizable feature. Developed from the 13th century, Kaysersberg once controlled wine transport routes, a role still visible in how the space connects closely with the river and surrounding vineyards. Unlike villages arranged in circles or terraces, this one follows a linear layout, where movement naturally flows alongside the water at its center. From the 16th century stone bridge, the path leads directly into the old town, with narrow streets and colorful wooden houses. Further in, the road begins to rise, leading to Kaysersberg Castle, built in the 13th century. The remaining round tower can be climbed, offering panoramic views of the valley and vineyards, a position once used for observation and control. In winter, the Christmas market transforms the center into a space of lights and traditional crafts. Throughout the year, wine festivals continue to preserve local identity, where production and enjoyment of wine remain inseparable from daily life. Wow, what stays with you most about Kaysersberg? The river, the bridge, or the tower above? Following the green hills, the journey leads into a Renaissance gem, preserved intact behind ancient walls. Riquewihr. Located among the vineyards of Alsace, about 15 kilometers from Colmar, Riquewihr stands out with a structure that has remained almost unchanged since the 16th century, where the entire village is enclosed by old defensive walls, preserving a medieval layout with a main road running straight through the center. The space here remains consistent from architecture to urban organization. Along the main street, colorful timber-framed houses, wrought iron signs, and wine cellars blend into a continuous experience, with almost no modern elements interrupting the flow. The Dolder Gate, a watchtower built in the 13th century, marks the main entrance and also serves as a high vantage point, overlooking the village and surrounding vineyards. From here, the connection between the residential area and wine production landscape becomes clearly visible. The key experience in Riquewihr is tied to the Alsace wine route. Cellars along the street open for tastings of signature wines like Riesling and Pinot Gris, directly reflecting the surrounding vineyards. Local wine events offer opportunities to connect and understand the production process. Leaving behind the vibrant borderland, the journey moves toward a riverside cliff, where golden stone houses reflect gently on the water. Roque-Gageac. Leaning against a sheer limestone cliff along the Dordogne River, Roque-Gageac stands out with a continuous row of houses stretching right along the water's edge, leaving almost no space behind. Located in southwestern France, this unique terrain forces the entire settlement into a narrow strip between river and rock, forming a highly recognizable one side water, one side stone layout. The Manoir de Tard, a historic residence from the 14th century, features a round tower and stone roof, sitting directly at the base of the cliff as if part of it. This structure reflects how people adapted construction to limited terrain. Just above, the Jardin Exotique de la Roque-Gageac exists thanks to a warm microclimate created by the cliff blocking the wind, allowing rare tropical plants to grow in this region. Instead of only walking through the village, visitors often choose traditional wooden gabari boats to travel along the river, offering a full view of the pale yellow houses pressed tightly against the cliff, showing how space is shaped by the terrain. In summer, river activities become the main highlight, combined with small riverside markets and local life, maintaining a rhythm closely tied to the water, the defining element of Roque-Gageac. Descending from the cliffs, the journey pauses by a vast lakeside, where flower-filled gardens blend with ancient stone. Yvoire. On the southern shore of Lake Geneva, near the Swiss border, Yvoire is defined not by its size, but by its position embracing the water, with the entire village facing directly toward the lake. Formed in the 14th century as a trade control point, its structure revolves around the harbor and roads leading straight to the water, creating a clear and recognizable layout. From the Stone Gate entrance, cobbled paths gradually open toward the harbor, where boats dock right beside the residential area. This layout naturally guides movement toward the water, instead of dispersing in multiple directions like inland villages. Château d'Yvoire, built in 1306, stands right by the lake with stone walls and round towers facing the water. It once served both defensive and trade control roles, while also becoming the landmark shaping the surrounding space. Within the village, narrow paths lead to the center, where Saint Pancras Church stands out with its onion-shaped dome, a rare feature in French architecture. This detail reflects influence from nearby regions and gives the village its unique identity. Tourism here focuses on walking between the harbor and village streets, combined with boat trips on Lake Geneva to view the entire village from the water. In summer, flower festivals and outdoor activities take place along the lakeside, while local cuisine centers on freshwater fish like perch and farrar, directly tied to the natural environment. Leaving the calm lakeside behind, the path rises toward a dry limestone plateau where fortress ruins tell stories of a powerful past. Les Baux-de-Provence. On the Alpilles range in Provence, Les Baux-de-Provence is built on a rocky outcrop about 200 meters high, surrounded by olive groves and vineyards. The dry, open terrain creates a strong sense of isolation, making the entire village appear as a continuous stone formation. At the highest point, the ruins of Chateau de Baux spread across the rock plateau with remaining towers and walls. This position offers a full view over Provence while reflecting its strategic control role in the past. The village below follows the terrain closely, with light limestone houses and narrow sloping paths. The structure blends seamlessly with the rock, creating a unified mass rather than separate elements. Not far away, Carrières de Lumières, an old quarry, has been transformed into an immersive art space where visuals are projected across massive stone walls. The contrast between medieval ruins and modern visual art creates two distinct layers of experience within the same area. In summer, the Fête Médiévale brings historical reenactments such as sword fighting, night performances, and medieval life activities right inside the ruins, turning the entire site into a living environment rather than just a monument. Leaving the rugged plateau behind, the journey moves deeper into a forested valley to reveal a mysterious sanctuary hidden within nature. Conques. Hidden in the Dordogne River Valley in southern France, Conques does not expand outward, but is enclosed by hills, making the entire space feel isolated from the outside world. This location has helped preserve its medieval structure almost entirely, while also making it an important stop along the Santiago de Compostela pilgrimage route since the 11th century. From the Pas Romain stone bridge, the entrance leads directly into the center, where dark-roofed stone houses cluster along the slope around the Sainte-Foy Abbey. The layout develops in depth, revealing layers of architecture gradually, rather than opening all at once. The Abbey Sainte-Foy stands at the core with Romanesque architecture and a sculpted tympanum depicting the Last Judgment, one of the most significant religious artworks of the 11th century. It not only holds spiritual meaning, but also shapes the entire spatial structure of the village. During religious events and pilgrimage seasons, the flow of people increases noticeably, maintaining traditions that have lasted for centuries. At these times, the village becomes more than heritage. It becomes part of a living journey, where architecture, belief, and human movement blend together. If you were a pilgrim, what would you feel arriving here after such a long journey? Moving deeper into quieter regions, the path leads to a moss-covered stone village where geraniums brighten every window. Rochefort-en-Terre. Located in Brittany in western France, Rochefort-en-Terre stands out through the combination of stone architecture and a dense system of floral decoration covering the entire village. Formed in the 12th century around a central castle, It remains small in scale but highly cohesive, becoming one of the most flower-filled locations in France. Narrow cobbled streets pass through gray stone houses with wooden doors and balconies filled with seasonal flowers. The contrast between rough materials and vibrant colors creates a constantly changing appearance, especially in spring and summer when facades are fully covered in plants and blooms. At the center, Château de Rochefort-en-Terre, built in the 12th century and later restored, serves as a key architectural landmark, directly connected to the main square and surrounding streets. This space becomes the main node in navigating the village. Local life is reflected in traditional Breton craft workshops spread along the streets. Pottery, paintings, and decorative items are produced on site, alongside regular markets focused on handmade goods and local produce. This continuity keeps the village alive, blending cultural value with visitor experience. Leaving the quiet stone streets behind, the view opens to a charming harbor where tall houses reflect along the calm canal. Honfleur. On the Normandy coast, at the mouth of the Seine River flowing into the English Channel, Honfleur stands out with the view bassin, a rectangular harbor surrounded by tall, narrow, colorful houses reflected directly on the water. This layout creates a highly recognizable scene where the entire space revolves around the water instead of a square or street access. At the heart of this structure, Église Sainte-Catherine is the largest wooden church in France, built in the 5th-10th century by shipbuilders. Its entire interior uses shipbuilding techniques, with an inverted wooden hull-like ceiling, directly reflecting the connection between architecture and the local maritime industry. The space is also closely tied to Impressionist painting, as artists like Monet and Boudin once captured the harbor here. This makes Honfleur not just a destination, but a place where visitors can directly observe scenes that exist in art history. In May, the Fête des Marins takes place, with sailor parades and decorated boats gathering around the harbor. Ceremonies at sea and community activities bring the entire area to life, clearly reflecting Honfleur's long-standing connection to maritime culture. Leaving the windy seaport behind, the journey moves upstream to a medieval town where cobbled slopes lead back into the past. Dinan. Overlooking the Rance River in Brittany, Dinan appears as a fortified town with defensive walls stretching nearly 3 kilometers around the old quarter. Its elevated position creates a clear separation from the harbor below, preserving its medieval structure almost entirely. The architectural focus lies in Château de Dinan, a 14th century structure with massive stone towers placed at the edge of the town. This position allowed full control over the river valley, highlighting its military role tied to the high terrain. Walking along the ramparts de Dinan, the perspective constantly shifts between old rooftops, watchtowers, and the distant Rance River, creating a distinctive viewing experience. Today, this route serves as the main exploration path through the town. At the center, the Tour de l'Horloge from the 15th century acts as a viewing point, revealing the urban layout with layers of architecture shaped by the terrain. From here, Dinan can be understood as a fortress above the landscape. Local cuisine features galette, savory buckwheat pancakes, paired with traditional Brittany cider. Small restaurants along the streets and near the harbor become natural stops, where food is experienced within a historical setting. Leaving the gray stone walls behind, the journey heads toward the deep blue Mediterranean, where white cliffs rise above the sea. Cassis. On the Mediterranean coast in Provence, Cassis centers around a small harbor that connects the village with its coastal landscape. The distinctive terrain of white limestone cliffs and deep blue water creates one of the strongest color contrasts in southern France. The Calanques system forms narrow inlets between steep cliffs along the coastline. These rocky openings reveal enclosed, clear, and deep waters, ideal for activities like kayaking, boating, or hiking along the cliff edges. Above it all rises Cap Canal, a sea cliff about 394 meters high, considered one of the highest coastal cliffs in Europe. From here, the entire coastline in Calanques can be seen clearly, showing the sharp divide between sea and limestone terrain. The harbor area of Cassis is filled with pastel-colored houses, docked boats, and short streets leading directly to the water. Tourism here revolves around boat trips to the Calanques or coastal walks, rather than exploring inland. In September, the grape harvest season begins in the vineyards behind the village, when Cassis AOC wine production opens to visitors for tasting and participation. Alongside this, harbor life with fishing boats and seafood markets maintains a rhythm closely tied to the sea, defining the identity of Cassis. As the salty air fades, the journey follows a calm river, where a grand castle rises above still waters. Laval. Along the Mayenne River in western France, Laval developed along the riverside axis, where the old town and main structures all face the water. Unlike hilltop villages, the space here opens linearly along the riverbank, creating a clear and continuous layout. Château de Laval stands right by the water, combining medieval round towers with Renaissance extensions. This layered structure reflects its long development while forming a strong visual landmark when viewed from across the river. The old town in front of the castle features timber-framed houses with narrow facades and varied colors, reflected directly on the water. As you walk along the riverbank, the architecture reveals itself in layers, shifting with perspective rather than appearing all at once. A unique cultural element is the Musée d'Art Naïve, dedicated to the painter Henri Rousseau, who was born in Laval. This space adds another layer of experience, where modern art appears within a historic setting. In early October, Laval Virtual, a major event focused on virtual and augmented reality, attracts an international creative community, adding a modern cultural layer to the historic space. At the same time, local cuisine reflects the Mayenne region with dairy products like Port Salut cheese, combined with galette and cider, creating a blend of tradition and everyday life. As the green plateaus fade away, the journey reaches a clear canal flowing from snow-fed alpine lakes. Annecy. In the Haute-Savoie region near the Alps, Annecy is organized around its lake and a network of canals that bring water directly into the old town. This structure creates a space where water is constantly present, both on the wide scale of the lake and within the smaller canals flowing through the city. Palais de l'Isle is the most iconic landmark, built in the 12th century and positioned right in the middle of a canal, shaped like the bow of a ship. Its unique location makes it a defining visual symbol, while also showing how architecture integrates directly with the flow of the city. The old town develops along the canal branches, with bright-colored houses, flowered balconies, and narrow walkways. Small bridges appear continuously, shifting perspectives as you move, allowing the space to unfold layer by layer rather than as a single fixed view. Beyond it lies Lake Annecy, known for its clear, blue water, surrounded by mountains. The short distance between the old town and the lake allows these two spaces to connect seamlessly without feeling separated. Tourism here focuses on boating, cycling along the lake, and exploring canal-side streets. In August, the Fête du Lac takes place with a large-scale fireworks display over the water, becoming a signature event closely tied to Annecy's landscape. Leaving the cool mountain air behind, the journey moves toward green fields and rustic timber houses that reflect a quiet countryside charm. Beuvron-en-Auge. In the Pays d'Oise region of Normandy, Beuvron-en-Auge is centered around a main square, where rows of timber-framed houses form a clearly enclosed layout. The space does not expand in multiple directions, but focuses on a central point where daily life and trade naturally take place. The most distinctive feature lies in the timber frame houses with exposed wooden beams, bright colors, and steep roofs. This architectural style reflects traditional Normandy construction techniques and gives the village its unique identity. Cultural activities are closely tied to apple cultivation and the production of cider and Calvados. Local pressing and distillation facilities are open to visitors, offering a direct look at the process from raw materials to finished products, creating a hands-on experience. In autumn, the central square becomes the setting for markets related to apple harvests, combined with tastings of local products. Cuisine here focuses on camembert cheese and dairy-based dishes, paired with cider, clearly reflecting the agricultural character of Normandy. Looking toward a new horizon, the road leads to a granite peninsula embraced by a winding river and watchtowers. Semur-en-Auxois. On a pink granite outcrop in the Burgundy region, Semur-en-Auxois is almost entirely surrounded by a bend of the Armançon River, forming a natural fortress-like layout. This terrain clearly separates the old town from the outside, while also creating a defensive system directly based on the river. The structure is defined by stone towers and sections of wall built from pink granite, with the Tour de l'Horloge complex serving as the main visual landmark. The material color creates a distinct contrast compared to many limestone-built settlements in France. Access to the center is through stone bridges crossing the river, where the landscape opens gradually in depth. As you cross, perspectives shift continuously between towers, walls, and flowing water below, creating a clear and immersive approach experience. Local cuisine reflects Burgundy traditions, highlighted by Auxois wines, slow-cooked meats, and regional agricultural products, showing the close connection between landscape, production, and daily life. Closing this heritage journey, the quiet atmosphere here becomes the perfect final note in a journey through the most beautiful villages. The villages of France are not only beautiful in appearance, but in the way they preserve time. From narrow stone streets and old rooftops to calm rivers and centuries-old walls, everything creates a feeling that is hard to define, both peaceful and deeply atmospheric. Each place is not just a destination, but a story being told slowly, yet captivating. You may not remember every village name, but you will remember the feeling of standing in those spaces where everything seems to move a little slower than usual. So among all these places, which village left the strongest impression on you? If you enjoy journeys like this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next videos. See you in the next adventure.